Detroit Lions, Carolina Panthers, 7-7 Detroit on the verge of playoffs, fighting to get in versus the 5-9 Carolina Panthers, who, yes, at 5-9, not only have a chance, but are only a game back of the playoffs by some miracle because Tampa Bay and the entire NFC South is garbage. So let me start before we get going into the breakdown of this and why this game I think might be closer than we all want to admit. Let's talk first and foremost about how are you feeling going into it? Where are your emotions? Like, where are you at going into this game? Are you sky high confidence? No way, Lions got this. We don't even need to talk about how it's going to be close because they are going to dominate and they are going to be victorious. Or are you like, no, honestly, I'm a little nervous. Cold weather in Carolina, on the road, travel plans have been messed up. Like, there are a lot of things that are with the weather and all that kind of stuff, but also just as we jump into the numbers here, I want people to realize that this is not as marked of an advantage as it really should be. When we played the Jags, we jumped into these numbers and it was like, no, we should beat this team and we should handle them no problem. We did. When we played against the Jets, it was like, nah, it's going to be close, but it does favor us. We are seeing something similar with this one. So, without talking about it anymore, let's jump in and let's see what the statistical breakdown does. Guys at Pride of Detroit do a great job. Lions pass offense is currently rated eighth on DVOA versus a Panthers pass defense that is rated 21st. Now, this pass defense, the reason it's rated 21st is a decent pass rush from the defensive line and a guy named JC Horn on the corner. He is their best cornerback, and he is the reason that it is good. Now, this is the Lions statistics. As you can see, they've been really good lately. A lot of green in the last 4 games, good amount of yards, great quarterback rating. Now let's go over and see what the Panthers have done. And I think what we have to realize is that the Panthers have done well. They are not giving up a lot of yards. They are not giving up good QB ratings. Now, to be fair, to be fair, all right, they struggled against the Bengals QB rating wise. That makes sense. It's Joe Burrow. Falcons, Ravens, Broncos, Seahawks, Steelers. Of all those opponents, I would only expect one. And isn't that crazy that we're saying Geno Smith, we would expect to throw for a lot of yards? But we are. We're still saying it. Pete Carroll must know what he's doing over there in Seattle. But only one of those quarterbacks really scares you through the air, and that is Geno Smith. That's just so crazy to say. So it's not like the level of opponent has been that high for Carolina. But when we look at it again, I'll show you these numbers. Our pass offense is 8th. Their pass defense is 21st. They are below average. We are in the top third of the league. Okay. Top fourth of the league, just barely. All right. So we have that. What about on the run game? This is where things to me get a little more interesting. Our run offense is rated 12th and their run defense is rated 21st. It's exactly where their run defense or their pass defenses. They are 21st in both positions on a defense. So they are just below average on average. Sorry, I don't know why. I just felt like it was funny to say that. All right, so here's what you do have to realize, though. We have not been running the ball as well as we were in the beginning of the year. We are still running for decent totals, going over 100 yards in 4 of our last 5 games, and I understand that. But when you look at the average yards per carry over our last 5, 4.3, 3.4, 3.2, 4.5, 3.8. That is not something you want that. You want that above 4.5 if you can have it. Our running game has struggled, and this run offense statistic that we're now sitting at 12th, I think this was as high as 6th or 7th at one point in the year. We are slowly dropping back to the middle of the pack defense on our run offense. I think I said defense on accident earlier, while the Panthers are staying consistent where they are. Here's what you see for the Panthers. And they are playing really good running teams lately. They don't have a horrible defensive line or horrible linebackers. Their defensive line is actually quite decent. If I'm being completely honest with you, they bring a front 4 of Brian Burns, Derek Brown, Matt Ioannidis, and Yetur Gross-Matos. That's a solid front four. Derek Brown is arguably one of the better defensive tackles in the league. And Ioannidis is a vet that's been around and he knows how to do it. And you have decent stuff coming off the edge. So health is going to be important for our offensive line, and we have most of our health. Hopefully, Evan Brown being in his second game back will be a little better. But here's what I'm saying: this is not the great advantage that we would think it is. Our offense to their defense. It's just not the huge advantage that we think it is. So here's where we actually do have a little more of an advantage. And this is crazy to me. They have a very poor pass offense, which is kind of what you'd expect, right? You had the whole Baker Mayfield thing, the experiment. It didn't work out. Wilkes came in as their coach and was like, this will not be my quarterback. So eventually he was released by the team. I'm not appreciative of it because he had a comeback win for the Rams. That was not fun. But he was eventually released. And then they went to PJ Walker. And then PJ Walker got hurt. So they went back to Sam Darnold. He's had a couple of decent games. Anyways, whatever it is, they're bad. Look at their pass offense is horrible. I mean, it's what you'd expect. They're 30th. There's only two teams worse than them, and it is a atrocious pass offense. Since they got rid of Christian McCaffrey, they haven't thrown for over 200 yards. There you go. I mean, like, I don't know what to tell you. Our secondary has been struggling. They have absolutely been struggling as of late, and I think this is where you are going to see passing yards versus Lions. We've given up 324, 237, 171. That was a great game against the Jags, kind of the outlier. But then the last two games, 394, 287. Our pass defense has struggled. This could be a good get right game. But I still think our defense has struggled. And I think whether it's Walker, whether it's Darnold, they are good enough to hit wide open receivers. So I'd be careful. And then you have the run offense versus our run defense. This is dead even. Now, our run defense has been trending up while their run game has not been trending up. Their run game is boom or bust. They are boom or bust in their run game. And I think it's kind of nuts. And I wouldn't know I trust me, I'm the one who would know about it because I have Deontay Foreman in my fantasy football. I went and picked him up as soon as they traded Christian McCaffrey because I had Christian McCaffrey. So I'm like, hey, why not have both? And so I went and picked him up. He either runs for 200 yards, it seems like, or 150, or he runs for 20. And these stats kind of show it. Bengals 64, next week 232, next week 36, next week 185, then 223, 21. Like, have you ever seen larger gaps in that? So I think it's just schematically, are people committing to it? I think you commit to stop the run and you allow your pass rush to get home, and that is the recipe for success. But when you look at these overall, what you start to realize is, yeah, maybe this is a little bit closer than I thought. Maybe it's just a little bit closer than I thought because we have they have things trending in the right direction on the defensive side of the ball. And their biggest weakness is also our biggest weakness. Their passing game is their biggest weakness. Our pass defense is. And so it hasn't seemed to make a huge difference what quarterback the Lions are playing this year. They're streaky with their defense, just in general. It hasn't seemed to make a huge difference. So I'm very interested in seeing kind of what that's going to look like. I see a lot of people predicting like 34-17, 38-20, just like 2, 3, 4 score wins for the Lions. I wouldn't be comfortable throwing them that high of a victory. I think this is kind of a 1 to 2 score game. I think it's more of a 30-20 game, 31-24, something like that. So that's kind of where I'm at with my prediction. I think it's closer than we think. I think the cold weather, unseasonably cold weather in Carolina isn't as big of a detriment or a bad thing for us as we think. We're used to cold weather. Like, that's not that big of a deal. We just did it in New York. They're the down south team. Like, I'm not too terribly worried about it. So the question is, what's the wind going to look like and things like that. Can we stop the run? Can we run the football? Can we get that yards per carry up and make sure Carolina doesn't have one of those games where they just pop off in the run game? So let me know what you think. I think, like I said, it'll be a little bit closer. I don't think this is a 20-point victory, a 17-point victory. Would love it to be, though. That would prove and cement once again that this team is actually what we think they might be, which is a good football team. All right, you watch the game. I'm going to get this video up and try and get it out there so you have a few hours to watch it before the game starts. See ya.